Who's ready for this epic report? We have an economic genius that has thrown the Canadian economy into recession, the only economy to hit a recession in the G20. And we have mainstream media downplay this recession, saying it's only a technical recession. There is absolutely nothing. There's nothing to worry about. Then we have the Bank of Canada come out and say that they are worried right now. And they're not worried about the 60% of all mortgages in Canada are set to renew at double, some of them tripled their current rate. But what they did say, which is concerning because most of their press releases are quite boring, they said they're concerned about a cascading series of events. And if this cascade series of events occurs, it's like a domino. One falls and they all fall over together. With Mark Carney having his credentials as tall as the CN Tower, you would expect him to show up today to stand up for the Canadian economy. But he decided not to show up because he is so embarrassed. So he refused to face Canadians. Man, I got a huge report for you today. Let's get into this report. I got brand new Patriots to announce. Marsh and Keith, thank you for joining, and thank you to all of my Patriots. I'm an independent content creator, so that means I'm not paid off like CBC or anybody else. I work for you, and with your support, I can continue to make these valuable videos. So thank you. We're going to start this episode off with Canadians are noticing that CBC's with their technical recession trying to cover for Mark Carney's failures. This is like saying a woman that just found out that she was pregnant says she's technically just a little bit pregnant. Just a little bit pregnant. That's it. Well, there's other Canadians that have come out with their own piece of how ridiculous CBC is.
Hello everybody, welcome back to CBC, and today we have breaking news out of Ottawa. Prime Minister Mark Carney was caught technically having an affair, but we really want to state that it's just a technicality. He didn't really cheat on his wife. It's just like a technicality that he maybe cheated, but it depends how you look at it and how you define cheating in the numbers. But it wouldn't be anything that I would break up a marriage over. It was just a technical affair.
It's so true. It's just a technicality. Like, she's pregnant, but it's just a technical pregnancy. I'm sure the baby won't pop out in 9 months from now. Mark Carney woke up today after finding out Canada's sliding deep into a recession and figured it would be a good time to post the #1 patriot in Canada, the guy that invented the elbows up. Mike Myers. The guy hasn't lived in Canada in 40 years, but he is the #1 patriot in this country. How out of touch is Mark Carney?
Lastly, I want to thank Scarborough for teaching me the 3 Fs. When to fight, when to be funny, and when to flee. And I just want to say, Canada, I don't know what to say, dude. I'd literally be nothing without you. Okay.
I just vomited in my mouth for like a little bit. I was like, I don't know if I could, I don't know where I'd be without you, Canada. He hasn't lived in Canada in 40 years. Mark Carney just posted this on his social media account.
Canada, I don't know what to say, dude. I'd literally be nothing without you. Okay.
How fake is that? If that is true, why did you flee? He just said he fled. You fled Canada, just with the tens of thousands of more Canadians that are about to flee the sinking Titanic. I do, however, have to admit, he's got some stellar acting skills. Pierre Poilievre was asked today, what would happen if Alberta actually won the referendum and decided to separate?
What do you think? What would the impact on Alberta be if the province decides to separate? Well, it would be bad for both Alberta and Canada, and it really makes me reflect on the fact that 10 years ago, under the Conservative government of which I was a part, support for separation was zero. In fact, there have only been 3 referendums to separate from Canada, and they've all happened under Liberal governments. When Conservatives are in power, we unite the country. In fact, even in Quebec, 10 years ago under Stephen Harper, the separatist movement was wiped out. Le Parti Québécois and the Bloc Québécois were on their last leg, but 10 years of divide and conquer, centralist Liberal government that seeks to control everything in Ottawa has reignited those divisions. And Mr. Carney's got to start to take responsibility.
I completely agree with Pierre. If we currently had Pierre as Prime Minister, we wouldn't have a separatist movement. But because the Liberals have won 4 elections in a row, we are now in a recession. Canadians are like, we want off of this sinking Liberal Titanic. This is Mark Carney just 2 days before we found out Canada has slid into a recession.
Mr. Speaker, this government is moving forward this economy in the face of a global energy crisis, in the face of a tariff crisis, in the face of wars. This country is the 2nd strongest economy in the G7. We are growing strong. We have the strongest fiscal position in the G7. We have a plan. Canada has a bright future.
Hear, hear.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Now we found out that we are the worst performing economy in the G20. Ryan Garrickson on X has posted something, and hold on to something. This is going to be troublesome. After years of working and paying taxes your entire life, the media is now pushing for elderly benefits to be cut back. Meanwhile, refugee claimants receive $224 per day in assistance is always just good to go. Like, you can't despise the media enough. Here's their post. As Canadians face crippling debt, it must do the unpopular thing and cut elderly benefits. The government can reduce spending while better targeting those genuine needs, like refugees, and free healthcare for those refugees. Of course, we got to give them free everything, don't we? But our elderly, those people could live in a tent. I want to know how much Frank here got paid by the Liberals to come out with this on CBC. How much, Frank? Once we see this, I'm going to tell you who this guy is.
The Prime Minister wouldn't know where his investments are. He's behind so many screens that you could hardly see daylight. He's making no investments in the United States or elsewhere. And by the way, it's pure fallacy about Brookfield, which I happen to know quite a lot about. If anything, we're repatriating companies into Canada. So that just wouldn't be true. But the more important point is that ethical shields guide the Prime Minister from any investments. He could go anywhere in the world and it would have no idea whether he's invested in certain geographies or businesses or sectors and so on. That's why Canada has such a reputation around the world for being a reliable, legal, and ethical partner, because we follow rules very closely. If you look in the United States right now, it's almost open season in Congress, where they can trade in public companies, and including the president himself. And we have rules that forbid all of that kind of conduct in Canada, which we should feel quite proud about, actually.
Who sets the rules? Who sets the rules? If the rules are absolute garbage and you're following the garbage rules, what do you get at the end? A bunch of garbage. Let's find out who this Frank guy is. Frank is a chair at Brookfield. You can't even make this stuff up. He probably called his buddy Frank. Mark Carney's like, hey, Frank, can you come out on CBC and do a piece for me and say that there's no connection here? The guy freaking works for Brookfield. Of course he's going to come out with stuff like this. But now I want to show you what they actually do in the U.S.
A lot of people did very well in the stock market, I assume. And I assume that you probably were one of them. And good for you.
That would be an incorrect assumption because I had to sell all my stocks to become Treasury Secretary.
You sold them all?
Had
Really?
to, yes.
But you have a blind trust, I would imagine. of your
There's
own.
no such thing as a blind trust.
A lot of people did very well in the stock market.
There's no such thing as a blind trust. How much did Frank get? That's my question. How much did they pay him? Must have been a fair penny. Canada has fallen into a recession. Is it Donald Trump's fault or is it Mark Carney's fault? Let's hear from Michelle Rampel.
Canada is in technical recession. Is it Donald Trump's fault or Mark Carney's fault?
Well, we've had data which have shown that Canada's economy has been faltering for some time, and that's because of some of the elements that I talked about earlier. We've had anti-development laws from the Liberal government, which are still in place under Mark Carney, like Bill C-69, Bill C-48, the No More Pipelines Bill, the anti-tanker bill. This has chased away investment from Canada. Also, I talked about how a lot of Liberal policies have lowered productivity in Canada. The other thing I'll say is that the Liberals' decade of inflationary spending has created economic impacts which have, I would say, stalled economic growth. And again, I'll just reemphasize, we are the only country that's in G7 country that's in a recession right now. The Liberals have refused for a long time to undertake policies which would create an environment for investment stability. I think about the industrial carbon tax. I think about the fact that, again, Bill C-69 is still in place. And again, I want to also outline something else. If oil prices weren't high right now, right, the numbers would be even worse. So we have to look internally as a country, and the reality is that Mark Carney's been the prime minister for a year. Many of the bills that have led to economic stagnation, like when you think about, for example, per capita GDP growth in 2015 was higher, and it was matching under peer countries like the United States. Now there's a big delta between us and the U.S. I mean, Mark Carney's been here for a year, and I think that there's a lot of elements of investment instability that his government, he personally is presiding over, and he needs to be held accountable for that.
I completely agree. But how do you hold a prime minister accountable that doesn't show up to work? Let's now hear from Wayne Long, the guy that thinks Conor McGregor is a NHL player, the #1 player. The guy has no clue what's happening ever. Check this out.
Mr. Speaker, last elections, Canadians had a choice. They elected a prime minister with world-class economic and business credentials. We are going to build the strongest, most resilient economy in the G7. At home, we're investing. We're investing in infrastructure, defense, housing. We're cutting taxes. We're going to build a strong, resilient economy. On that side of the House, Mr. Speaker, it is nothing but empty parking lot press conferences, props, bluster, and rhetoric. Thank you, Mr.
Fastest growing economy in the G7. These people, they're going to continue to tell you that they're building the fastest growing economy in the G7 while the economy goes down into a burning dumpster pile. This is the same as them telling us they're trying to make life more affordable for Canadians since 2015. We're still waiting for them to make life more affordable. If you thought that the last rant from this guy was off, just check this out.
We are in a trade war. We do face some headwinds. But let's look at some economic facts. We have the second fastest growing economy in the G7.
We have the second fastest growing economy in the G7. We are in the only recession in the G20.
Non-U.S. exports are on track to double over the next decade.
$35 billion down our exports to the United States and another 15% this year. Where is he getting his data from?
Foreign direct investment at twice the rate of our nearest G7 peer, and we now rank as the most attractive country in the world for infrastructure investment. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we're focused on building a strong economy for Canadians. They're full of bluster, rhetoric, and press conferences. Thank you.
How many tent cities? How many tent cities are in Canada? Just wait for me to show you a report that came out this morning. This is the reality of Canada.
Canada has been given a near failing grade on our annual report on poverty. Food Banks Canada gave Canada overall a D+ for how we manage poverty as a country. It says the situation is urgent. Incomes are not meeting the cost of living. Bottom line is the cost of rent, food, and gas are all up. Incomes are not. The report found people who have jobs now make up 1 in every 5 food bank clients across the country. There are also fewer jobs to go around, with nearly 3 unemployed Canadians for every position available. Canada was given an F in poverty measures, with the national poverty rate now sitting at 11.1%. Quebec, by the way, received the highest provincial grade with a C. The call now is for more affordable housing, improved social assistance, and increased wages.
We just got an F. 11.1% of Canada's population is in poverty. We're supposed to be the richest country on planet Earth. This dismantles every single talking point that the Liberals have from the beginning of time. Canada is in big, big trouble. Here we have Mark Carney, the economic genius, explained that the U.S. last year was going to enter a recession. The only country to enter a recession is us.
Yes, the probability of a recession in the United States has gone up significantly. I take no joy in that it becoming more likely. We can give ourselves far more than the U.S. can take away. So the U.S. is driving itself into a recession. At present, let me say a few things and get to the heart of it. I have confidence in the Governor of the Bank of Canada, Minister of Finance, they're on top of it, and also have confidence in Canadian institutions. So Canadians can be reassured on that.
We cannot afford a fourth Liberal term of Mark Carney driving up spending, money printing, taxes, and inflation while blocking our resource projects. We cannot afford that risk. We need a new Conservative government for a change that will axe taxes, greenlight construction of homes, mines, pipelines, LNG plants, bring home our jobs so that we can reinforce our economic fortress against the Americans.
The Liberals are starting to not like Mark Carney. The #1 Mark Carney fan, Scott Reed, is furious with Mark Carney right now because he didn't like Mark Carney saying, "Make America great again." This is beautiful to see.
Scott, in New York City to a huge banker investment business crowd, right? And it was the concluding line that drew the most headlines. This notion that a strong Canada can help make America great again. If the sentence sounds familiar, it's because it is. It's MAGA. What was your reaction?
Negative. And I think it was a mistake, to be really direct. And, I think that because the Prime Minister has such a delicate balance to strike constantly when it comes to the Canada-US file. He's constantly having to balance the desire to secure some positive progress, some kind of trade guarantees going forward around CUSMA and others that serve the Canadian interest. But at the same token, he got elected on elbows up. And so that balance is on display always. This speech, in my view, at least that one specific line, tipped the balance, I think, in an unhelpful direction. His speech, I thought, was very potent. It was an iteration of his Davos speech given to a U.S. audience, and I thought that it was quite powerful until that last line. Strategically, that line is not going to persuade the White House that suddenly Canada's in their corner. It's not. But what it will do is it will catch the attention of the 75%-ish of Canadians here who do not instinctively support Donald Trump and his agenda. And Make America Again is his project. It is a divisive project. It includes going to economic war with Canada and many other things that a lot of Canadians find on the face of it absolutely disreputable. So in that delicate balance the Prime Minister is constantly striking, I think he got it wrong in the last sentence of that speech.
That's it for today's report. Just witnessing Scott Reed mad at Mark Carney for saying, "Make America great again." Mark Carney is mega all of a sudden because our economy is rapidly falling off a cliff. How long is this illusion gonna last? Because Canadians are starting to wake up to the reality that their economic genius that they voted for is a failure. I look forward to hearing from you in the comment section. I'll see you on the next report.